is the PivotTable Fields Pane missing? Hey, just down below the video, if you click like, that'll make sure that YouTube shows this video to more people. Today, a little bit of Excel archaeology. Why does Excel behave in a particular way? I have a data set here. I'm going to create a pivot table, insert pivot table, and we'll let it go to a new sheet. All right, so I'll argue that anytime that I look at this sheet, I am clearly looking at the pivot table. It's the only thing on the pivot table. And you see that we have several elements here. We have the PivotTable Fields Pane over here. We have the PivotTable Analyze tab and the Design tab that have all of our tools for a pivot table. But you'll notice that these two ribbon tabs and the PivotTable Fields dialog box will disappear as soon as I click out of the pivot table. Now, when this started happening back in Excel 2007, I wasn't a big fan of this because, I might just use the arrow keys to move out of the pivot table, to admire it or to take a screenshot or to, get a clear shot in the video. And then when I come back, you see I'm stuck on the Home tab. Yeah. Now, why did this happen? The story is between Excel 2003 and Excel 2007, they were sitting with customers, and there was a customer who they were watching as they were doing things in their data and changing cells and things like that. They kept moving the little drawing toolbar out of the way. Right? After watching this for an hour, the person from the Excel team said, what's up with this? Why do you keep moving this out of the way? You don't even have any drawing objects here. And the person said, yeah, why is this here? It's been here for 6 months. It's in my way all the time. I'm constantly moving it. I hate this drawing toolbar. Now, what's funny to me is that there was an X that would have closed the drawing toolbar, but the person was just blind to that and moving the drawing toolbar around and around and around. And based on this one customer, I'm going to call it Mr. Couldn't Find the X, they came up with this rule that says if you are not in a pivot table, then we're going to put the pivot table tools away. So PivotTable Analyze, PivotTable Design, and the pivot table fields all disappear if you click away from the pivot table. Now, this same feature works with other things like charts and things like that. And it's interesting that they took quite some time to try and code around the disappointment of losing focus from, let's say, the Design tab. So here I'm in a pivot table. I'm on the Design tab. And watch this one very interesting way that I can click away from the pivot table and back to the pivot table and still stay on the Design tab. So if I choose exactly one cell, you see that the ribbon tabs disappear, but then immediately click another cell, it comes back. Like that's been programmed in. And even in a chart, let's say that the chart is active. I have the chart tools. I'm on the chart format tab. I click one cell and then back to the chart. They take me back to the chart format tab. But it only works in this very specific way. So if I'm in the pivot table, I'm on pivot table design, and I click one cell, click a second cell, and then back to the pivot table, yep, I stay on the Home tab. They forget that I was working on the Design tab. And probably since I try not to use the mouse, I try and use the arrow keys more, I'm going to essentially do the rule. I'm going to leave the pivot table to one cell and then come immediately back, but I'm going to use the right arrow key and then the left arrow key. So if you're a person who prefers to use the arrow keys instead of the mouse, this rule of being able to click one cell and have it come back to the Design tab doesn't work. I'm doing the exact same thing that would happen with the mouse. So with the mouse, choose this cell, come back, it stays on the Design tab or returns to the Design tab. But when I do the same thing with the arrow keys, I'm stuck back on the Home tab now. And now I have to reach for that stupid mouse to get to the Design tab. Now let's check the chart, see if the programming for the chart works the same way. So currently we're on the Format tab, we're in the chart, click exactly one cell, come back to the chart, comes back to Format. Click one cell and then another cell and then come back to the chart. Yeah, we're left on the Home tab, right? So it's how it's programmed to work, whether that's the best way or not. And again, just the Excel archaeology of this, it's all from that customer experience. They were sitting with the customer and watching this person move the drawing toolbar, and this person allegedly had the drawing toolbar for months and couldn't figure out that X would have closed it and just kept moving it out of the way. There you go. That's the backstory on why the ribbon tabs, these are called contextual ribbon tabs, will disappear when you click away from the item. Just as an aside, sometimes you might see the two ribbon tabs, but but the field list never appears, and that's something that's pretty easy to turn off, maybe accidentally. So if you are in a pivot table and you can't see the field list, but you can see PivotTable Analyze and Design, come back to Analyze and try and turn the field list on, and that might be the reason why you're not seeing the field list. I want to thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another netcast from MrExcel.com.